Hi, this is Helen Thomas and the CDFM study group. I'm continuing review of CDFM Module 4, my competency number 9. Two more to go. So we talk about the decision points. So we've gone through all the other ones. So on page 491 at the bottom, it talks about the milestone decision points. So we know you have the 5 phases: material solution analysis, technology development, and yes, I know it's changed, but for the Module 4, 2011 Study Guide, it's still called Technology Development. EMD, Engineering, Manufacturing Development, Production and Deployment, and Operation and Sustainment. So the sustainment portion of it. So you know you have 3 milestones: Milestone A, Milestone B, and Milestone C. Those are just milestone decision points. So let's see. Page 2, 492 now talks about what happens at milestone A. So this is just incorporating some of the things you learned in the previous competency sections. For instance, on material solution analysis, so we know that we have to do analysis of the alternative. So you have material solution analysis, and then in that you're doing analysis of the alternative. So you think about initial capabilities is telling you what your capability gaps are, and it gives you recommendation for solution. In the material solution analysis, you're trying to now determine which is the right solution for the problem. So you have different courses of action, analysis of the alternative. So they're called all different alternatives, and then you have to determine which alternative works best. So we also talked in the past about technology development strategy, the TDS. So before you move on to any milestone, any phase, just remember prior to that you have to have approval to enter that phase to do what you're doing. Number 3 talks about the lead component submits a cost estimate. Of course, we need to know what things are going to cost, and the MDA may ask the director of CAPE to do an independent cost estimate, the ICE. Number 4 talks about the test. We just talked about that in number 8, test and evaluation strategy, because we're still in milestone A. And also in milestone A, you have to do a systems engineering plan. That basically lays out from that operational need, it lays out all the steps that need to be taken to get to the point where we have an operational system. When you identify the capability need to the operation, that's your SEP. SEP is done at milestone A. The DoD Chief Information Officer must provide confirmation of compliance with the requirements of Klinger-Cohen. When we talk about the IT, you saw that Klinger-Cohen Act consistently makes sure we're in compliance. We have protection. Who protects it? If it's a CPI, critical protection information, it's the program manager versus the lab directors, all of that. And the PPP, the program protection plan, you know you're talking about for systems with CPI, meaning if that software, if that hardware, if that information gets into the wrong hands, we're in trouble. What do we do? How do we protect it? So those are all the things that are being answered. The MDA signs a 10 U.S. Code 2366 certification memo that lists the initial capabilities document to fulfill it. System is being, let's see, make sure. Yeah. The second bullet on the top of page 3, an analysis of alternative has been performed consistent with the study guidance developed by the DK. So remember, you get AOA guidance in how to do the actual AOA before you go into the analysis of the alternative in material solution analysis. You get guidance from the DK. We also said that when is the test submitted? The test is not in the page in front of me, but I'm just recapping some of the things I already discussed. The test is submitted 45 days prior to milestone A. What else? Okay. All right. So page 493 goes into milestone decision B. What's some things that happened there? So remember, the strategy that was in milestone A was technology development strategy. So that means it comes before technology development phase. When it gets to milestone B, that strategy is the acquisition strategy that details the rest of the steps that needs to be taken. Because remember, just because you go through material solution, technology development, milestone A, it does not mean you've entered a full-blown acquisition program. Once you get approval for milestone B, that means it's straight ahead. And also remember, you can either go evolutionary step or single step. Single step, let's say we need some weapons. We need additional weapons developed. But we already have like items. We just need to make some more. So a single step would just be, okay, maybe it needs to be tweaked just a little bit. So maybe we enter in milestone B. On the single step, the DoD prefers the evolutionary process because there's a series of process steps, certification that happens at each, but you don't always have the time to do that. Page 494 is at the bottom, is milestone C. So that's where you have, okay, that's what I missed. I don't see, oh, it was later down. Go back to page 493. We talked about the JROC updates, the initial capabilities document, and now in milestone B, they produce CDD, capabilities development document. And then in milestone C on page 494, then the JROC, remember, the JROC represents the user, the joint staff represent the user, the MBA reviews the capability production document. Test and evaluation results are reviewed. You update the acquisition program baseline. So when does the acquisition program baseline come in? It comes in milestone B. Okay, page 495. We have updated tabs. So throughout the whole process, if you start something in one phase, just know it's being consistently updated throughout the other phases. What I didn't, okay, it's not clearly stated here. Maybe I missed it. I think that's what we're coming up to. On the bottom of page 495 is we have 4 major decision points, decision reviews. 4 major decision reviews. What are they? The first being material development decision. The second is post-preliminary design review, post-critical design review, and the full rate production design review. So that's on the bottom of page 5. There are 4 major decision points. That's where you have that diamond. And then remember, you also have decisions that are made, milestone A, B, and C. So that makes it a total. If they have a total of all the decision points, there are 7 decision points. There are 3 milestone decision points and 4 decision reviews. Material development decision reviews listed on page 495. It tells you they look at the ICD and they come up with a plan for the analysis of the alternative. So initial capabilities document says, okay, we looked at the national security strategy, and then based on the top line guidance from OMB, say how much the budget limit that the DoD will be able to spend for the upcoming fiscal year, then we need to constrain, the fiscal constraint falls into what things we can do for our programs. On the top of page 6, it goes into the other 2, preliminary design review and critical design review, PDR-CDR, that's milestone B and C. And then, so the PDR and the CDR occurs one before milestone B, the preliminary design review before milestone B, and the preliminary and the critical design review prior to milestone C. So I'm on page 496. At the bottom, you have the full rate production review. So remember, before you can actually go into full rate of production, they have another review that's held It's part of Milestone C, but you want to remember that even though you have the Milestone C decision review, you also will in the future have the full rate production review. On page 495 at the top, updated temp. All right, so those are things that we already covered. All right, let's see, page 499, Defense Acquisition Board Review. So remember, for acquisition category 1 Delta, the major milestone decision authority is the USD ATNL, and he is the chairman of the Defense Acquisition Board, and the vice chairman or the co-chair is the vice chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff. So remember, the vice chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff is the chairman of JROC. He's in charge of JCIDS, and he's also a co-chair on the Defense Acquisition Board. The ITAB, the Information Technology Acquisition Board, the SecDef could then designate, or the USD ATNL can designate the Chief Information Officer, the CIO, or the NWI, to be in charge of the information system. So all of that, when you read through that, that's what it's saying, and that's for ACAT 1AM level programs. So that's what it's talking about on page 9, and then 10 goes into the ITAB based on the Klinger-Cohen Act of Title 10 and the Klinger-Cohen Act. And so that's what this part is talking about, who's in charge as the Milestone Decision Authority. Page 411, that paragraph, the JROC, okay, I already said it, but is chaired by the Vice Chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff, and it reviews programs designated as JROC interest and supports the acquisition review process. So let me see what the bullet said, chaired by the Vice Chairman. So that's the key for this section, is who's chair. All right, now let's go into the integrated. So remember earlier I said that for every level, every step, every milestone, every process in the acquisition system is done by the WIPITs, the Working Integrated Product Teams. So this section, Chapter 9.3, Integrated Product Teams, will then give you the criteria of each one. It begins at the bottom, but we're going to go, let's see. So the Integrated Product Team is an interdisciplinary team. And just remember, these are the working level groups. These are the overarching that pulls all of these different groups together to then give out the reports that we talked about, to give out the feedback that is necessary. Let's see, we can read through this. There are 3 types. I'm at the bottom of page 4913. There are 3 types of integrated product teams. Overarching focuses on strategic guidance, program assessment, issue resolution. The working level, the WIPITs, identify and resolve problems, determine the program status, and seek opportunities for acquisition. And then you have the program level IPTs that focus on program execution. An integrated product team, which is itself a working IPT, should coordinate all the WIPT efforts. Exit criteria. So at the end, so just also remember throughout this whole acquisition process, the acquisition decision memorandum is being updated. So the exit criteria are documented in the acquisition decision memorandum on top of page 15. The role of IPTs, integral part of the process for acquisition category 1 Delta, 1AM programs. There are generally 2 levels, the overarching and the working level. Each group should have an overarching. So there's an overarching, so there's like one overarching integrated product team that have several working integrated product teams under it. that work directly with the program manager. WIPA shall focus on a particular topic, tests, or contracting. So most of these we've already discussed. I don't see anything out of the ordinary. Industry participation on page 17. Let's see, do we want industry to participate? They're not regular members, former members, but industry representatives may be invited to participate in the working or the integrated product teams meeting to provide guidance, information, feedback on the process. So industry participation is not a formal part of the process, but they may be invited to participate. 4919 goes into role of independent assessment. Remember, we got to do independent cost assessment. I think that's 10 U.S. Code 2434, something like that. But it says you have to, the program manager has to do it. They have to acquire independent assessments. Let's see. What I have checked here is looking at the bullet. Independent cost estimates are prepared by the Deputy Director of Cost and Program Evaluation, the DCAPE, or there's another, it used to be called the CAIG, let's see, Cost Assessment Integration Group. So just in case you see CAIG or DCAPE, that's the same position. All right, pretty straight. Periodic reports. All right, so now there are different reports that gets done throughout the process or at the end of the process. Let's go to 922, program deviation. Remember, you get an approval for a certain cost, schedule, or performance, and then there are instances where that's in line with the acquisition program baseline. But then there are instances where you deviate from those acquisition program baseline. So on the bottom of page 22, when the program manager has a reason to believe that the current estimate for the program indicates a performance schedule or cost threshold will not be achieved, he or she will immediately notify the Milestone Decision Authority within 30 days of the occurrence of the program deviation. So within 30 days of identifying that deviation, you need to notify the MDA. So deviate from what? Deviate against the acquisition program baseline. What does it say about 90 days? Within 90 days of occurrence of the program deviation, one of the funds should occur. The program is back within APB or a new baseline is, so you either re-baseline it. So you either put it back on track, and I think that's where you come in with the replanning. When you do rebaselining is replanning, and then reprogramming is when you know you're over the budget, over the cost, or over the schedule, is you need a new acquisition program baseline, possibly. Page 4923, chugging along. All right, some other SAR report. Who does the SAR report? The SAR report, what is it? Selected Acquisition Report. Reports the status of the total program cost schedule. So when do we need a SAR? I guess is what's important. The SAR for the quarter. So we know every quarter ending December 31st is the annual SAR. The program manager will submit the annual SAR within 60 days after the president transmits the budget to Congress. Okay, that's important there, right? The program will submit, so SARs are submitted quarterly, and the final one in December, 45 days, December, or is it 60 days? 60 days in December. So it says you submit quarterly, March, June, September, quarterly. Then the annual one is submitted 60 days after the president submits the budget to Congress. Then at the last, that bullet on the bottom of page 23, the current estimate exceeds the program acquisition unit cost objective and or the average procurement unit cost objective of the current approved APB acquisition program baseline, both in base year dollars by 15% or more. So you do a SAR report. So that's the exception to the quarterly. I reported on an exception basis as follows. Quarterly SARs are reported on an Okay, I just got this. All right, so typically you only submit an annual SAR at the end of the year, first quarter, for the quarter ending December 31st. That's your annual SAR. You submit it 60 days following the president's submitting budget to Congress. Okay, I got that. The program manager will submit a quarterly SARs ending March 31st, June 30, September 30, not later than 45 days after the quarter ends. Quarterly SARs are reported on an exception to policy basis. So only if you exceed 15% or more of the acquisition program baseline do you submit a selected acquisition report quarterly. So 45 days. So 60 days for the annual after the president submits the budget, 45 days after the quarter ends if you have an exception, 15% deviation. Page 4924, SAR termination. So the USD ATNL may consider terminating the requirement for the selected acquisition report, the SAR, when 90% of the work has been completed. 4925, program acquisition unit cost, acquisition average procurement unit cost. So you see our contents. So what does this mean if 25% over PUC? So I think program manager will submit a written report on the unit cost of the program to the CAE on a quarterly basis. Let me see. Each report should include the current estimate of the program acquisition unit cost and the average procurement unit cost. So on an average, how much does it cost to buy this item? On an average, how much does it cost to acquire this item? Breach increased by 50, so there's that 15% again above the PAUC or the APUC at the bottom of page 25. Significant growth, cost growth notification requirement. Cost breach. Now, May's statutory reporting. Okay, let me see. I think I'm missing. Okay, USD 18 that will designate ACAT 1 program. We already know that. Days reporting and assign. There are two types of out-of-cycle reports. Major automated information system statutory report. Okay, I don't see it. I'm reading it softly like that because I'm trying to see if there's anything that really like jumps out at me. Review, but I don't see anything there. Okay, so that concludes CDFM Module 4, Competency 9, Decision Points. So remember, your major decision reviews occur, material development document, that's a review point, decision point. Post preliminary design review, critical design review, and full rate decision review. And then you have decision reviews at milestone A, B, and C. All right, so be sure to subscribe, click like, leave a comment, share this website with others that are studying to earn their CDFM, whether it's module 1, 2, 3, or this one for the acquisition. Be sure to let me know if you have any question, if I need to clarify something, or maybe you heard me say something incorrectly, because sometimes it takes me going back and listening like, ooh, I think I misstate an information. So thank you for stopping by the CDFM study group. This is Helen Thomas signing off. I'll see you guys again next time.